Hi, I'm Sam, and I'm an OpenSciEd teacher and facilitator. I'm here to talk to you about Bath Bombs Lesson 7. And the first time that I taught this unit, it literally took me 3 days to get through, which was too much for me and way too much for my students. But over time, I figured out ways and strategies to use so that I can now get through this lesson in 1 day, and I'm here to share that with you. Let's take a look at how we got here. In Lesson 6, the students figured out that we could use what we had learned in Lessons 2 through 5 in order to explain a new phenomenon, elephant toothpaste. The students were able to use changes in mass and property data in order to answer 3 test questions. So now we're wondering, how can we revise our model to represent the differences in the matter that goes into and comes out of the bath bomb system? Let's look at a lesson at a glance to see how the students will answer this question. This lesson is what we call the putting the pieces together lesson. It takes about 1 day and requires about 20 minutes of prep time, and there are no hands-on investigation in this lesson. We begin the day by starting in a science circle. The students are asked to take stock of what we've learned from lessons 2 through 5. We update a model, and then we open up the model and begin to revise from our initial class consensus model and revise the particles to what we now think the particles might be doing. We figure out a lot. In fact, we want to help the students see that we've learned a lot in this unit, specifically about the bath bomb and the water and how it creates or makes something new, which is the gas. There are a few key moments that I really want to talk about. In part 2, on day 1, we take stock of what we learned. On the screen pictured, you'll see that this is what the model should start to look like. So it's blank, and we start by figuring out what we've learned in each lesson, and we're going to document that on the chart. I would recommend using different colors to represent different lessons. This part can definitely move faster. Have the students use their progress trackers to help the conversation move faster. Here pictured, you can see what it will look like once it is updated with everything that we've learned from lessons 2 through 5. There are sample prompts in the teacher's guide to help you get the students to document this thinking. Remember, it's okay if the students don't say exactly what's in the teacher's guide. And something that I would recommend is to, at this point, use the discussion planning tool, which is located in the teacher handbook. This tool has come in handy for me as sometimes I need to plan those back pocket questions to help my students get to these answers faster. In part 3, we open up the model. If you look at the picture posted right here, here's what I mean by opening up the model. So there then are 2 parts added to the model, and this is where we are going to revise the inputs and the outputs for the particle model. I recommend having your initial consensus model posted. So here's a picture of my initial consensus model, and we're going to ask the students to update what these particles look like for both the inputs and the outputs. If students are struggling to vocalize what we think that these inputs and outputs might look like at a particle level, consider using whiteboards. I recommend using a variety of colors to represent the different parts of the model, but don't let the colors hold you up. Remember, it's okay if your model does not match exactly what's in the teacher's guide. What's pictured here is what's in the teacher's guide, and then below it is what my students make. Notice they don't look exactly alike, and that is okay. I recommend writing questions that are coming up on the model. The more we can document questions, the more it will be easily able for you to point out that those are the questions that we are still really wondering about. And it's really important here, or I've found that it's important to help the students to see that we really need to learn more about these particles, that this is where the unit is going to go next, because we really don't understand what's happening at that particle level yet. So here are some tips and tricks. In part 2, when we are taking stock of what we've learned about, You may want to consider working backwards and starting with lesson 5, as those are the newest ideas that can be added and the most easily able to recall. This is also a great place, though, for the students to start to help each other to remember and maybe even reteach some of those ideas that some of the students aren't getting yet. There's also a teacher reference located in the downloadable file that you can print out and have with you so that you can see what should be added to the model part by part. So it doesn't just look like this overall, it will show you step by step what to be added to the model. Consider collapsing redo. In parts 3 and 4, you're going to be creating a new consensus model. That's where you open it up and you're now going to revise what the particles look like for both the inputs and the outputs. You may want to consider collapsing part 4 onto the model. The way that I do this is I ask my students, on a particle level, how could the particles of the bath bomb and the particles of the water create the gas? So I'm pointing and I'm saying, look, this is what we think the particles of the bath bomb look like. This is what we think the particles of the water look like. We know that the gas is something new. How did these particles over here make these particles over here? And I document those ideas in the middle of the circle. And the reason I do this is because it's going to help with the navigation in lesson 8. Poster management. What you're going to do is, remember, you're going to want to have your previous model, your previous initial model posted, and then you will create this new consensus model. At this point, you can get rid of your initial consensus, and I would have the new consensus model that you create in this lesson posted in the classroom somewhere where it's easily able to be pointed to and visible for students to see for navigation purposes. I want to thank you all for listening to this lesson. And if there's anything that you can take away from this lesson, it's really that this lesson can be hard for students. It takes a lot of stamina for the kids to get through, but with your concise discussion moves, we can get the students through this lesson in one day. And I look forward to seeing you all in lesson 8.